Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. This is the job. So thank you for giving me the time. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to come here about why not only do I want to be mayor, but we're going to win this election on November 5th and my plans for serving you. I was born and raised here. My wife and I, Becca, we have a 13-year-old daughter. We have a 10-year-old son. They were born on the same floor at the same hospital that I was born at on California Street. I have a deep sense of pride in this city. And I jumped into this race over 13 months ago because I was worried about the direction our city was going in. And our elected leaders, all of the people that I'm running against have had their chance in office and they have failed to deliver. They have a combined total of nearly 70 years in office. Some of the people I'm running against are running for a fifth term. So I don't think that they've done their job. And we need a fresh approach. We need accountable leadership. I have a proven track record of getting big things done for our city, and I want to deliver for you all. I want to just acknowledge a few things right out of the gate. When you read Daniel Lurie, Levi's comes next. And I'm okay with that, okay? My mom and my dad got divorced when I was 2 years old. My mom remarried my stepfather, Peter Haas, part of the Levi Strauss family. Helped run an incredibly iconic San Francisco company that provided domestic partner benefits to its LGBTQ workers long before it was required by law. My stepfather made sure that any factories in the South that were being built were desegregated. Otherwise, Levi's would not partake in working with them. Levi's always took care of the community, San Francisco. And San Francisco and the government took care of Levi's. It was a symbiotic relationship. And I understand the importance of our business community, small business and big business. And I'm going to be a mayor that goes out and recruits companies back to San Francisco, like Levi's, like Salesforce. So want to acknowledge that. My dad was a rabbi here in San Francisco at Temple Emmanuel. Before I was born, what I saw him doing growing up, he was the head of the Jewish Community Federation for about 18 years, 17 years. He helped tens of thousands of Jews flee persecution from places like Ethiopia and Russia. He was helping people he would never meet in his entire life. My mom was always focused on early childhood education in places like Viz Valley, Bayview, the Mission, Chinatown, because we know that when a child gets off to the right start, they do better their entire lives. And so those were my models, my role models. My wife, Becca, we talk about what we want to impart on our now 13-year-old daughter, our 10-year-old son. It's around kindness and empathy and integrity, something that is missing at City Hall and in our national politics. And another trait, the skill of listening, truly listening to each other again. We have an administration and departments that dictate to community. They've forgotten their job. They've forgotten to listen to community, to work with community. One thing that I am committed to right now, if you hear nothing else today, I want you to hear this. I'm committed to the true version of public service, not for personal profit or gain, but to serve you, the people. That $15.9 billion budget that we have right now, that's your money. And I'm going to treat it as such. I'm going to make sure that we spend it wisely, efficiently, and effectively. You deserve nothing less. I started Tipping Point Community, a poverty-fighting organization, in 2005 with 3 others, including Ronnie Lott. The 4 of us had a different notion of how we get going and involved and engaged in our community, and how do we serve great nonprofits. That was by rolling up our sleeves and working alongside them to help them deliver more effectively and efficiently in 4 areas: housing, education, employment, and early childhood education. We made 1-year grants, renewable for as long as we were working well together. In 2005, September, we made our first grant to the homeless prenatal program. That group is still in the Tipping Point portfolio 19 years later. There are many other groups that have not performed, and we have cut funding to those groups. We put metrics and KPIs into every single contract so we could know how they were doing 6 months out, 12 months out. If they were struggling, we'd dig in and figure out different ways to help them. If they still weren't performing, we would cut funding to those organizations. Something that the City Hall insiders I'm running against have no concept about. They've rubber stamped hundreds, if not billions of dollars to nonprofits with little to no oversight. And the reason I know that is because they're all running now saying, let's audit all the nonprofits on day one. Well, why didn't they do that when they were in office? They've been in office 8, 12, 16 years. Why didn't they do that before? I'm the only one with that experience, and I'll bring that to bear. We've raised over $500 million, not a single dollar from the public sector, all private, and we had to prove ourselves every year. So really proud of my track record. Mayor Ed Lee took notice of me in 2013, and he asked me to chair the bid to bring Super Bowl 50 here. Not because I was a sports guy, although I did like sports, and I do like sports, but because he saw my ability to bring civic leaders together, business leaders together to get big things done when tackling issues of poverty. When he came to me, we had no sports authority in place. New York, LA, they have these machines ready to turn on for Olympics and Super Bowls and NBA All-Star games. We had nothing. I worked with Mayor Lee, Mayor Liccardo in San Jose, Mayor Schaaf in Oakland, Adobe, Apple, Google. I brought them all together. We put together a great bid. We went up against Miami. Those were the days we were beating Miami and everything. Those days are coming back, I promise you. And we won the rights. We brought that game here in 2016. $250 million of economic revenue to our city and to our region. Our hotels, our bars, our restaurants were full. We did such a good job that we created the blueprint for what's now our sports authority. It's called the Bay Area Host Committee. I was chair of it until earlier this year. I'm still on the board. We got the NBA All-Star game coming in a few months in February to Chase. We got Super Bowl 60 coming back in 2026. We have 6 World Cup matches coming. $1.4 billion of economic revenue to our city and to our region. The eyes of the world are going to be on our city again. And we have a lot to look forward to, but we got to get our house in order between now and then. Housing, big issue in this city. Next 4 years, the next 8 years, is going to be incredibly important if we want to keep young families here. I came upon a young couple, a third-generation San Franciscan, the mom was, and she told me about her 2-year-old son who was in the stroller. It was at the Irving Street Night Market in late September. Awesome night, by the way. Beautiful. Love that. But this mother said to me something I will never forget, and I definitely won't forget it over the next 8 years as I'm serving as your mayor. She said to me, I don't think I can stay here. Safety issues, affordability, and our public schools. She said this. She said, I love this city. Oh man, I just had such a good moment, and I was ready for it. It's okay. You're wearing a Niners thing, so you're good in my book. 4-4. We're poised for a good second half. She said, I'm going to try it again. I love this city, but the city doesn't love me back. I hear that everywhere I go, every corner of the city. Small businesses feel like they're feed after feed, cut 1,000 cuts every single time. I talked to somebody that does small remodels, kitchens, bathrooms, homes. He said he goes into the planning department, or DBI now, Department of Building Inspections, and he walks in, he feels like he's going into enemy territory. That's not the way your government should be acting. On the affordability issue, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden wrote a letter to our city admonishing us, saying it takes longer to just get through permitting in San Francisco than any other city in the country, 33 months, just permitting. We got to drive down that time down to 12 months. That's the goal. Right now, planning has been taken over by the state because of SB 423. There's a maximum review time of 12 months, or 180 days, excuse me. But Department of Building and Inspections is still 605 days on average. It's crazy. That's why we have so many people indicted or in jail coming out of that department, because you have to pay a permit expediter to jump the line. Corruption is rampant. We got to get that maximum review time down to also 180 days. But here's why I'm confident that we can do this, because I've done it. We at Tipping Point put together a world-class team, and we got housing built on time, under budget, with good paying union labor at Bryant Street, 833 Bryant, 3 years, $377,000 a unit. It was so successful that there's a second project being done using the same concept of how we do everything up front at 1633 Valencia Street, 135 units of senior housing. People liked 833 Bryant so much that Apple has invested in this second project. John Sobrago, a very, very shrewd developer, has invested in this project. And we need to pump out more housing for our young families so that they can imagine staying and living here, for our firefighters, for our nurses, for our teachers. We built a teacher housing project, the city did, 135 units in the Sunset. 900 teachers applied for the 135 units of subsidized rental housing. The only problem with that project, it took 7 years to build. Unacceptable. We can do this, and we can do it in a much shorter time. We disrupted the process. The City Hall insiders are still fighting this project. Imagine that. They all talk about wanting more affordability, but they're protecting these special interests that want to keep it 7 years and $1.2 million a unit on average. All right, let me give you my 3 priorities, and then let's open it up for questions. Public safety. Number 1 issue. Nothing else matters. Really, nothing else matters if you can't keep your family safe, your elders safe. If you are scared to push your kid in a stroller across a stopwalk because people are flying through stop signs and red lights with abandon. I believe that we need a fully staffed police department, a fully staffed sheriff's department, and a fully staffed 911 dispatch office. This mayor, under her watch, has seen a decline of over 500 police officers. We should be around 2,000. We're below 1,500. Now she says, oh, I'm all for public safety. You can't just be for public safety during an election year. You have to be for it all year round, for your residents, for your taxpayers, always with police oversight and accountability, always. But you got to be able to back your police up and your law enforcement up, and I will. Second issue, behavioral health crisis on our streets. We all know what's going on. First, on the demand side, I want to get tough on first-time drug dealers. I've put out this plan 9 months ago, which says let's put ankle monitors on using geolocation technology onto people that have been arrested first time, so that if they're arrested in Soma or the Tenderloin or the Mission, that they are not able to return to the neighborhood in which they were caught selling drugs until they face trial. People say, oh, well, we already use ankle monitoring technology. We do if you don't show up for your court case. We do after a 4th or 5th arrest. First time, we are going to send a message to the country and to the world that you no longer come to San Francisco to deal drugs. And on top of that, you no longer come to San Francisco to do drugs or to sleep on our streets. Now, people say, oh, that's tough. That's not compassionate. What's not compassionate is 806 people died of fentanyl or drug overdose last year in our city. And we're going to be well north of 600 people again this year. That's unacceptable. On the demand side of the equation, there's a lot of tough talk on those that are using drugs, but the system needs to be held accountable too. The system has failed. So I'm calling for a fentanyl state of emergency on day one of my administration. We're going to surge resources so that we can get people compassionately off the streets into a 24/7 crisis center where they can be assessed, and then we are going to stand up more mental health and drug treatment beds. But let me give you one piece on the first part of this. We're going to have a co-responder model where instead of police officers being the first point of contact with somebody in the throes of addiction or in distress, it's a trained clinician, okay? People say, well, this all sounds like a lot of money. Your taxpayer dollars right now, $700 million a year is going to our behavioral health crisis. We have the resources. We just need a plan. And so this allows trained clinicians to go out, pull people back in, and it allows our police officers to take a step back. We don't want every interaction on the street to be with somebody with a badge and a gun. And in those conditions, that's where bad things happen. And then that also allows our police to go start walking the beat again, getting to know merchants along commercial corridors, really do true community policing. And so we have a 6-point plan on the behavioral health crisis, but the bottom line is we need to get people off the street and into mental health and drug treatment beds. Treatment on demand is key to this, which means when you want it, you can get it. Too often, someone is in the throes of addiction, they meet that moment, and they're like, okay, I'm ready. And they walk into a city-run clinic, and they're turned away. They're turned away 50% of the time. That's not okay. Guess what they're going to do? They're told to come back in a few days. They're going to hit the streets again. So we need to deliver on the promise of treatment on demand, and we need to mandate treatment. We can do that with state law. SB 423 allows us to mandate and conserve people, but only if you have the beds. And so we need to build out those beds. Third priority, streamline permitting. I talked about that with our housing, but we also have to do it for our small businesses. We have to cut the red tape, and we have to stomp out corruption. Corruption did not start under this mayor. I will give her that. But it has flourished. You need somebody walking into that office on day one, unencumbered. I don't owe anybody anything except you, the taxpayers, and the residents. One last point on the small business front and permitting. Right now, you're a small business. I'll give you an example. Pier 39. 85% of the shops at Pier 39 are family owned. Third generation. If one of the stores turns over, the leaders of Pier 39 gave me a tour last week. We walked around. They plan for the city to take, and the port and the city planning to get back to them. They plan on 12 months to be able to open a new store and have a new tenant in there. 12 months. I know so many small business owners that have started renting a spot, and then they start going through the process. They got to go 6, 7, 8 different departments. And these departments all get to start their own shot clock. They get back to the people, the applicants, whenever they want. Under my watch, you're going to have an upfront meeting with all the representatives from all 8 departments. You're the applicant. They're going to give you the checklist. You're going to go back. You're going to get everything checked off. And then you're going to deliver the application. And there's going to be a 30-day shot clock on my department heads to get back to you. If it's not gotten back to you, you're conditionally approved and you can start your business. No more long waits. None of that. This soft serve ice cream shop in a neighborhood that I won't throw the neighborhood or this person under the bus, but 600 square feet, they had 40 inspections. They had someone come out to inspect their cash register. Okay? We need to clean house on these things. We need to get rid of this red tape that is preventing our small businesses from getting up and running. All right, let me end with this. When we are at our best, we are the greatest city in the world. We all know this. I mean, outside your window is pretty good. I know this is federal land, but it's pretty good. There's not a doubt in my mind that we will get back there. to being that shining beacon on the hill, that place that everyone in the world is like, I got to be in San Francisco now. Now you tell people, they're like, are you safe? Are you okay? Now, and give me 4 years, give me 8 years, every entrepreneur, innovator, anyone involved in clean tech, AI, our creative class, they're going to be like, I got to have a presence in San Francisco. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Okay. Hey. First, apologies. I'm wearing Wranglers and I mostly wear those.
You're forgiven.
Wonderful. Thank you. Before I jump into the information and follow-up questions, I want to preface what I'm going to say by I have no interest in moralization. I imagine you, as a person in this race, get a lot of villainization, right? Moral judgment for the position you come from. Don't really care about that. I also want you to zoom way out beyond San Francisco. It's kind of the nature of my question. So those are some preface. I believe that the issues we see here are not unique to here. They're visible. Homelessness, drug use, death, all across the US. At least in this place, we can see it. The information I want you to consider is that if we look at wealth inequality, both income and total wealth, where we are at right now mirrors the Gilded Age. Right? Really interesting graphs. You watch it. And then here we are today, right back, 1-to-1. If you look at the same information, you see housing insecurity, homelessness, drug abuse. Again, they're 1-to-1. So there's much larger problems than San Francisco. We see it here.
Yeah.
So my questions are this. Why do you think this larger problem of inequality exists? Do you think we should do anything about it? And what would we then do? And if you're a really nice guy, you would ask, or you would allow me a follow-up question, but there's lots of people, so it's okay if you don't.
I'm a really nice guy. So, all right. I'm running for mayor of San Francisco. I know we have these problems across this country and across the globe. And we have for as long as for human history. But I'm focused on what we can do now. And I'll tell you, I'll go back, the last 20 years of my life has been about providing opportunities to people, no matter the zip code that they were born into. That's why I'm so focused on early childhood education. You want to get somebody to have opportunities, you start early. Our public schools are a mess, and they have been for decades here in San Francisco. You want to get somebody prepared and ready to be in this room and to be in rooms like this, they better have a great K through 12 education. And we as a city and as a country have failed on that front, but we as San Franciscans have failed. The dysfunction at our school district right now is on full display. And so everything in my being, for as long as I can go back in terms of my career, has been about solving the inequality, to tackling issues of poverty, understanding that everybody has a role to play in it. What I am proud of it, what we did at Tipping Point, is we brought people in that would never have thought about tackling inequality and tackling housing, the housing crisis and the employment crisis, and making sure we get people ready for these tech jobs that you all represent in here. So you got an ally in me that understands the importance of preparing people and getting them ready to thrive in our economy and in our culture. And so you are right. We have huge problems. But I look at it as, how do you start as mayor of San Francisco? And that's by making sure we strengthen our public schools, making sure we invest in early childhood education, that we have great job training programs, and that we have affordable housing so we can keep really smart people as long as possible here in San Francisco before they flee to the suburbs or somewhere else around this country. So I appreciate the question. You all are in charge. You tell me. Okay.
Yes, we met earlier. I'm Ted Haas. I'm on the board. I have the privilege of being on the board of an amazing nonprofit called Love Never Fails. They help victims of human trafficking. Okay. They're part of this community. You said security's number one, on your agenda. Are you aware of the massive problem, human trafficking, sex trafficking,
Yes.
child sex trafficking? FBI identified San Francisco as one of 13 cities.
I did.
What's your plan to move it to zero?
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot about this during Super Bowl, because Super Bowl is such a visible, and it manifests itself around that game. So I hear you. We have to shine a light on it. We have to make people aware of it. We need to do public education efforts on it so that we are keeping people aware and making sure people know to look for the signs of it. So I'm going to follow and work with organizations like yours to make sure that San Francisco is not the beacon that it has been for a very long time. I remember this being a big issue during Mayor Newsom's days, and it's still an issue here in our city. And so, honestly, when you are from 2,000 police officers down to below 1,500, like that's a problem. Like we need more. We need at least a fully staffed police department to help us on this, and then we need state and federal help. And I'll be working with organizations like yours. Thank you for bringing it up.
Hi.
Hi.
So as I understand it, the school district is run by the superintendent and the Board of Education. So as mayor, do you have maybe 2 or 3 things that you think the mayor could actually do to impact it?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a spot on question. You do not have direct control as mayor, but you do send $200 million a year of your taxpayer money to the school district from the general fund to the $1.3 billion SFUSD budget. There's going to be strings attached. We have a mayor that came to the rescue 30 days ago. I'm not sure why we waited so long. Could have come years ago. We've been in a crisis for quite some time. We need to hold the district accountable for how it spends its dollars. Now, what you do, so that's one thing that you can do. The other thing is you have other departments that you do oversee. SFMTA in Muni, making sure you have rapid bus lines to get kids to and from school on time and safely. Right now, I've talked to so many high school students that see their bus come by them at 7:15, 7:30 a.m. and just go by them full, and they're late to school. That we will have rapid bus lines. That gives parents assurance that they can send their kids safely and securely and on time to schools. Last spring, there was a lot of instances of a handful of instances of anti-Asian hate on the buses. We need to have ambassadors riding those buses. I was on the NJUDA a couple days ago, and 3 11-year-olds were riding it on the way home from school. And there was someone in distress in the same train car as them. We got to make sure our kids are safe, that our elders are safe on it. So that's another one. And then Department of Children, Youth, and Families is another department that you do control as mayor. I want to surge resources from that department to our public schools so that parents also look at the school as a source where they can get resources, whether it's CalFresh or Medi-Cal or mental health counseling. So we wrap our arms around these schools that need more support. So those are a few ways. And then I'm going to stand on those city hall steps for as long as it takes and say that, for us to be a world-class city, we need a world-class public education system, and we should be focused on student achievement and student outcomes. That should be our focus.
Hey, Daniel, thank you for speaking with us. And so I've worked in data for many years, and so my question is going to be about something that you mentioned, like a pay for success model.
Yeah.
I've seen that there's a lot of duplicative efforts from commissions on homelessness and that are tackling issues, the Linkage Center or other people that are doing activity metrics where you can check a box to say, I did something, but it doesn't actually mean the taxpayer dollar is going to somebody's recovery. It just means that they check the box that they did something, and then it gets shut down. And then do you have a plan of how the data integrity and accessibility across departments can remove duplicative efforts from different people that are given budget and then use their budget, but don't actually solve the problem? Because that's a major hurdle that I think we need to face in data.
I thank you for the question. I'll, if you will allow me, I'll tell one quick story of one of the groups, a program called Year Up. That was amazing, a job training program for former foster youth and those that have been homeless, 18 to 24. And there was this young executive director at the time, Jay Banfield, walked into our office. I had gone to New York to scout them out, and they were data informed from the jump. And I was like, we need something like that here in San Francisco. And so we were a funder that brought them out here. They're now really scaled up around the Bay Area. And Jay walked in and had a Salesforce database right out of the gate. And so we were kind of insisting on data measurement and metrics, not just how many people did you serve, but when you came in, how much were you making? When you left the program, what was your hourly wage? Like real outcomes, not outputs. So you have my commitment that we're going to do that. 248 different nonprofits working on housing and homelessness get funding from 8 different departments right now here in San Francisco. 248. We're pulling contracting power out of those 8 departments who do not talk to each other and don't put KPIs and metrics into those grants. We're going to have a centralized unit of contract experts that put metrics and KPIs into all of them. Many of those nonprofits are going to fade away because good intentions will not be enough in my administration. That's not enough for me to, for our administration to use your taxpayer dollars on. The high performing nonprofits love this plan because they'll probably get more funding. They'll be able to deliver more outcomes-based measurement. And I'm going to work with people from this community to make sure that we put the data analytics in place, that we use AI, that we use the best and the most thoughtful people in this industry to help us be more consistent and clear on what we're expecting, and then making sure that we're transparent in delivering information back to the taxpayers on what their taxpayers' dollar has gone to.
Okay, in the front, sure.
Choice. Okay. Hi, Mr. Lurie. I grew up with one of your cousins, or a few of them, the Eisenharts, and I swam for many years with some people that went to university, high school with, Tim Moffitt and a few other folks. And
that dude swam in the Olympics.
yeah, we were on the same year-round team.
Oh, wow.
I'm not in that same shape. Dad body now. Anyway, carry on, Maxwell. The story gets better. My name is Sam Blattis, and I have 2 kids. My older kid's named Aya, not Taya, but Aya. My question, I guess, is just really high level. I guess 3 simple things. I just moved here from Dubai. I'm a job creator. I'm hiring here in San Fran. I worked at Google forever. My questions are: 1, to what extent, because we've gone through the whole human cycle of emotions on homelessness, and a lot of our budget is so big at $16 billion. Dubai has tripled the population, but has the same size budget as San Francisco. And yet we still, the public safety outcomes there are very, very different than here. And I'm just asking about San Fran.
Yeah.
To what extent is it a priority for you to attract brains, capital? Do you have like an office? Like, how do you think we're doing, I guess? And on attracting brains and capital, tying that to your government social economic priorities? I guess that's my main thing.
I think right now people are waiting for this mayor's election to be decided. I can tell you we're getting calls left and right from all over this country, and frankly, around the globe. There are so many people that want to come turn around a great American city. I think there's good people inside City Hall that want to be led again. There are people that have left that may be talked into coming back. But when we win, and if I have the great fortune of winning, I'm going to go attract the best people in their specialty areas to help us turn around a great American city. And I've been able to do that. Tipping Point, we were able to do that. Super Bowl, I think, the housing project, I always talk about, that we got one of the great construction firms in Cahill Construction, recruit this incredible executive, Rebecca Foster, from Housing Accelerator Fund, who is a complete badass. And we delivered a building that no one thought we could do. No one thought we could get it done on time and on budget. And we delivered. And so, yes, part of the plan is recruiting. I don't want to get too far ahead. We got 6 days left. We got a win on November 5th. So I'm just sprinting through the finish line.
That would move the needle. Is it capital? Is it knocking doors?
Oh, you're talking about the next 6 days? You just tell every single person you know, put Daniel Lurie as your first choice. If you have friends that are wed to somebody else, I'll take their second choice. This race is coming down to Mayor London Breed and me. It's a two-person race. That much is clear in every single person's poll, including the board, everyone's poll. It's the two of us. So if somebody wants change, they better not leave me off their ballot. Otherwise, it's a vote for the incumbent.
Hi, Daniel. My name's Nikita. I run the Recovery DAO here at We Heart SF. And so I have two questions. One of the talking points that has been kind of linked to your campaign is regarding universal basic income. And I'd love to know a little bit more. Maybe it's not linked.
Linked to my, yeah.
Has been a talking point from other candidates because I've been going to a lot of candidates'
Okay.
speeches. Just wanting to know if that is part of your campaign policy and how sustainable that would be for the city's economy. The second point is recovery on demand. That has been one of our platforms here at We Heart SF for a while, and really cannot be done without full mayoral support. Couple things. Right now, most of the programs that our city run are one-year programs. Makes it really difficult for people to get in and be sustainable if we're asking to have recovery on demand. How do we shift that system to make it more approachable? The second thing is that in the last 6 years, we have spent more money on medical assisted therapy than we have in previous on just residential programs. How do we balance the scale? What is your opinion on balancing? Thank you for asking. Medical assisted therapy is everything from Suboxone treatment, methadone, all of those. And I'm including in that the Safe Needle program and all of that.
I have not really talked about UBI, so I'm going to leave that off to the side. It's something that, I know Mayor Tubbs in Stockton has done with some good success. I'm open to talking, but that is not something that I have dug into on this campaign. As far as treatment on demand or recovery based, so I believe in it. I believe that it needs to be part. As I said, we need to have treatment on demand. Where this administration really lost its way was the Department of Public Health and this mayor focused solely on harm reduction for so long that they lost control of the streets. And hear me clearly, like harm reduction is an important part of the continuum of care. It can't be the whole plan. And with this mayor and the Department of Public Health, it was the whole plan. They put billboards up downtown that said, when you do drugs, do them with friends so you don't overdose. Last year, they finally changed tune and said, don't do drugs, they kill you. Fentanyl changed the game. I will say that, and I will grant that. But they were late to the game. Now, you got to keep people alive and using, if they're going to use, you want to use with clean, safe, but you need to get them into treatment. And that's where they have failed. Once again, $700 million a year. We just passed a bond, we, meaning the state of California, $6 billion that is something that we should go be drawing down to go hire those trained clinicians to be the compassionate response out on the street, pulling people into the 24/7 crisis center, and then getting them into those treatment. And yes, with fentanyl, 60-day, 90-day treatments, and certainly 30-day treatments are not enough. This is why I'm going to team up and partner with programs like the Salvation Army's The Way Out program, where you have 6-month detox programs, and then you get people into transitional housing for a year, 2 years to get them back learning how to live again. You can't just put somebody into housing that is coming off of fentanyl. That is changed over the last few years. My plan around the homelessness crisis is that we're going to stand up 1,500 emergency shelter beds in our first 6 months, so that if someone falls into homelessness, it's brief, it's rare, and it's one time. We need to make sure that if someone falls in, once they're out on the street for 30 days, 60 days, that's where the troubles really start. So we're gonna have shelter. We're gonna double down on bus tickets home. We need Homeward Bound to get people back to loved ones. We did it for 15 years. I don't understand why this mayor hasn't really restarted that program in a meaningful way. I will. And then the third option for people is going to be the mental health and drug treatment beds. But what I've said everywhere I go is that there will be no fourth option of sleeping on our streets any longer. It's not compassionate for the person on the street, and it's not safe or healthy for our community and for those that are walking their kids to school. And so we're going to be compassionate, but tough.
Hi, Noelle here. You're brought here by We Heart SF, and I don't know if you know what they've done, but they've done an incredible program led by Geo, and it was really people coming together because the mayor wasn't doing their job, in my opinion, right, to make change. So they put together 6 DAOs. They also are doing housing for the unhoused, really remarkable things. And part of it is using technology, so tools of like Web3 being on chain. And one of the best things about blockchain is transparency and spending and seeing what you're doing. So going off of John's like KPI check, going beyond that is one of the first people that we came to the Geo event, to the We Heart SF, was talking about salaries in the government, what people were getting paid. We're so bloated, right? And we don't know why or how they're getting paid that much. And then once again, what you all are funding. So is there any?
Just be careful on the we all, because I'm not there.
Not you there.
Okay.
And I love your business mindset. I'm voting for you, just letting you know.
Let's go.
But in that is like, will you be open to possibly using like on-chain tools that really can help you be more transparent in what you're spending and using tech of like tomorrow to solve the problems of today?
Not only am I open to it, we're going to do it. We have to do it. You all deserve nothing less. I want every department. If you go to DPW's website or HSH's website, I want clarity on where their dollars are being spent, where your dollars are being spent. That's going to be really important. Right now, you go to the Tipping Point website. By the way, I'm not affiliated with Tipping Point. I just step off the board. But if you go to their website, every group that's being funded, there's a number of the dollars that are going out. And then there's a one-pager that you link to and understand what is going on there. So yes, I'm committed to it. And I understand the feeling. I have a friend here who knows that I helped co-found something called the Civic Joy Fund because this administration in this city wasn't doing enough to bring more arts and culture and joy back. And there's been a lot of groups that have stood up over the last few years because what we've all seen is a failure of leadership in City Hall and this administration to deliver for the people. And you're seeing a lot of action now as November 5th approaches. But here's my commitment to you. You're never going to see a mayor work harder than me starting on January 8th and going for 4 years. And I plan on 8 years as your mayor to turn around our great city.
One last question in the back.
Yes, Danielle, thank you for coming and sharing. Just very encouraging to hear your ideas. Curious, so we're here at We Heart SF in the House of Web3. A lot of what we're doing here is to bring nonprofits together to share what's needed for when they're seeing boots on the ground across the city and communities with technologists who can share what's possible. And curious if you have any strategies or maybe there are existing initiatives already that can be amplified to bring what's happening in places like this in the innovation sector, the research that's happening, the explorations and pilots in conjunction with the kind of public and community sector where you have the bridge of how can the government, the city government share what's needed with those of us who are, in a lab setting, in a research setting, a think tank setting. What would that look like? Is that something that can help bridge a continuation of what Noelle and John were talking about? Yeah,
I mean, listen, I talk often about having representation from many different communities. The API community is 37% of our city. The Latino community is 16%. And I want those voices around my table, but I want voices around my table from all industries too. I want creatives. I want tech leaders. I want climate and people focus on how do we solve our climate crisis around my table. So I'm committed to making sure we hear voices from every sector. One example in terms of, and forgive me if I said this earlier, but some people just came in New York City, after September 11th, 2001, I was down there that morning, by the way, and I can tell you, no one said that they would ever go back downtown New York. You go there now, it's booming with all sorts of industry and creatives and restaurants and nightlife and big business and small business and housing, right? We're going to have a downtown San Francisco Development Corporation. I'm going to bring leaders from the private sector, from the public sector, and from my administration to reimagine downtown San Francisco, bringing great ideas. How do we incentivize companies coming back? How do we incentivize and plan for a new climate innovation hub? How do we plan for more live work space and more creative space? And yes, bringing people together from different sectors to help us reimagine downtown, but also just make sure that San Francisco once again leads on everything, climate, AI, and once again, going back to the creative. So yes, I'm all in.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Daniel. I know you have to run. Please join me
Oh.
in giving a big round of applause.
Can I-
Yes, one
can I
last
just
thing
do
in
one?
closing.
I got to
Absolutely.
close. I got to close. Just one thing. And here's what it is. You can vote today. You don't have to wait till November 5th. We've been going for 3 weeks in terms of voting. You are going to have a mayor in me that works with you, that listens to community, that is not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking about going to Sacramento. I'm not thinking about going to DC. I walk in, once again, unencumbered on January 8th, 2025. My sole focus will be on delivering for our small businesses, for our residents, for our taxpayers. You deserve nothing less. And I'll say this, when we are at our best, we're the greatest city in the world. I said it once, I'm saying it again. If you want change, if you want accountability, there's only one choice in this race. And I hope you rank that Daniel Lurie bubble as your first choice. Thank you very much for taking time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Daniel.